Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and I'm going to give you the scoop of this week's astrology and why there is tons to be hopeful for. We've got a very optimistic energy this week coming out of a new moon. We're on the up and up. The energy is slowly increasing. And the new moon we just had was in Taurus, which is a focus on, living simply, simplifying our needs, simplifying our headspace, simplifying our desires, and realigning our path towards a healthy future. The reason we have lots to be hopeful for this week is because the Sun and Jupiter are having a conjunction, which is a very, very lucky influence. And it kind of reboots our personal hope. Life is hard, like stupid hard. And so many times life kind of kicks the hope out of us. And that's valid, that's real. It's very hard to be a human being and be hopeful and optimistic when there is so much in our realities that's hard and it's challenging. And through eclipse season, through Aries season, we really kind of got the stuffing kicked out of us in many different ways, but it was also a time of purging. And when we purge that which no longer aligns with our highest good, sometimes what we end up with in the in-between is a vacuum. And what I mean by that is devoid of oxygen, devoid of energy and matter, simply an empty space that we kind of have this subconscious sense that it needs to be filled. And that vacuum that exists after things get torn apart, after people maybe exit our lives, breakdowns, breakups, we go through times of transition, and that vacuum that's left afterwards is sometimes the weirdest and most uncomfortable place to be, because it is in that time of a vacuum, that empty space, that we are often very tempted as habitual beings to fill it with the same things we used to fill it with. But it's in that opportunity, that empty space, that there's also infinite and limitless possibilities. So we just had a new moon last week, and now this week, the Sun, representing kind of the core of our experience, joins up with Jupiter, which is a luck planet of abundance, prosperity, breaking through obstacles, hope, and optimism. So we have a really multiple beautiful astrological influences this week that are going to help you recharge your personal relationship with hope, and not based off of smoke and mirrors or illusions or fantasies or anything like that, but a sense that real possibilities exist because the old has been cleared away. When the old is cleared away, we usually go through typical stages of human grief. Is that what it is? The stages of grief, where first there's denial, and then we move all the way through like bargaining and these different emotional stages towards finally we end up at acceptance. And acceptance is the key to understanding. Acceptance of our reality allows us to go, hey, this vacuum, this empty space exists. Let's fill it with something different this time, shall we? So there is this little metaphor I wanted to kind of bring to mind. Let's imagine that a monkey, a fish, an elephant, and a tiger are all having a tree climbing competition. Obviously the monkey's going to win, and the tiger might get to the top, but not before the monkey. And the elephant and the fish are going to feel like failures in this talent competition here. Is that fair? So the reason I'm bringing up this totally random metaphor is because so many people will, for example, not do well in traditional school and feel like a failure. And it's not until you get out of traditional school that you have the opportunity to excel, to develop your gifts, to work on your creative talents that aren't necessarily supported or encouraged in regular school. So sometimes our personal perception of either being a failure or not good enough, feeling like an alien, feeling like we're out of place, feeling like somehow we're doing life wrong, so many times, 99% of the time, it's because we are in an environment or in a situation or in a relationship in which we do not have the opportunity to excel in the ways that we are naturally gifted at excelling. So the elephant and the fish are not going to be good at climbing a tree. But if there was a swimming contest, the fish would win that one. And if there was a being sturdy contest, the elephant would win that one. Do you see what I mean? So the reason I'm bringing up this totally random metaphor is because I want to help you guys understand it is so typical that we as humans will not only feel like a failure in some way, but we will also have such complicated thoughts about the matter that we actually kind of anchor ourselves in that. So if we have really crappy relationships, for example, and maybe the person that we're with says really awful things to us, if we let it, those things that are said to us can become core beliefs. And then those core beliefs limit us from having positive connections in the future because either we don't believe we're capable, or we got stuck in a cycle of abuse and trauma. So there's so many ways that our outside environment and the feedback that we get from circumstances, from jobs, from school, from partnerships, from friendships, it's that feedback that we get that we then internalize as human beings, and we don't necessarily realize that we have the choice to either acknowledge that other person's reality or take a step back and go, you know what, your reality, your perspectives, they can be valid for you, but I have a different reality. I have different perspectives. It takes strength, it takes time, and it takes wisdom to be able to stand firmly in who you are and love yourself unconditionally, and be able to look at circumstances and go, you know what, that might be great for somebody else, but it's just not working for me. That tree climbing contest over there, sorry, I'm not good at climbing trees, but I'm really good at swimming, right? So if we're able to have humble acceptance of the fact that everybody's going to see things differently, and at the same time validate our own perspective, then we can take advantage of opportunities like this. So this week's astrology, the biggest things that we've got going on is that the sun, representing the core of our existence and our perspective here on Earth, the sun joins Uranus, and Uranus totally shakes things up. It's the wrecking ball, it's the renovator, it's the tower card. Uranus is our opportunity to transform from a caterpillar into a butterfly. So your own personal metamorphosis is either going to be shown to you or actualized, or you're going to have an opportunity to recognize your own metamorphosis very early in the week, because the sun joins Uranus on Monday. And at the same time, Venus forms a really helpful sextile to Saturn, which is an energy of whatever you realize right now, whatever, profound realizations about your own self-worth, your own magic, your own spark, your own divinity, your own talents, whatever you realize this week, if you are able to kind of lock that in and be like, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to let that feed me for years to come. I'm going to hold on to my dignity. I'm going to hold on to my fire, my flame, my spark. Monday is a day to be able to see things differently, recognize your own special qualities, and lock that in a way that you remember it, you actualize it, and you take it with you. Even just put it in your pocket and take it with you for later. Because this magical influence, we don't always have the ability to see clearly. We don't always have the ability to take a step back and not only have compassion for other people's perspectives, but also go, my perspective is equally valid, right? And then on Wednesday, Mercury moves into Taurus, which is awesome because Mercury has been spending an extended amount of time, especially with Mercury retrograde, it's been spending an extended amount of time in Aries, which was a really volatile influence of irritability and fire and speaking without thinking, arguments, conflicts, things like that. When Mercury moves into Taurus, it is actually not considered to be at home in Taurus because Mercury is a very quick planet, and Taurus is just kind of taking its time. So our headspace, Mercury represents how we think, what we think, and kind of how we see the world around us. Mercury, representing our perspective, is going to be slowed right down in Taurus. You may find that it's harder for you to brainstorm. You may find that your thoughts and your train of thought is just really slow over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be about 3 weeks. But the benefit is more calm, more inner peace, more of an ability to just be patient with yourself, to be diligent in how you approach your goals, your obstacles, anything that comes up for you. Taurus is a grounding earth influence. It's focused on keep it simple, let's, meet our basic needs first before extending beyond that. So it's going to be a really, really calming influence. But then shortly after, on Friday, Mercury forms a challenging square to Pluto, and Pluto is in Aquarius. So what will come up as we kind of get to the end of the week is, yes, we can actualize dreams. Yes, we can see ourselves as divine beings. Yes, we can throw ourselves in the direction of a new way of being or a new path moving forwards. But Mercury square Pluto brings up the unfortunate fact that we as human beings are creatures of habit. And so on Friday, when Mercury forms a square to Pluto, it's going to just bring to our attention the ways in which we are stubborn, the ways in which we are creating obstacles for ourselves, the ways in which we are maybe stuck in a rut or stuck in a loop, or unconsciously repeating patterns. Mercury square Pluto also brings a risk of obsession. So what I mean by that is that Mercury square Pluto brings an energy of, I want to know the truth. I want to seek the truth. But the truth is not always easy to hear, not always easy to see. And depending, it's going to affect everybody differently, but for some people, it's going to bring an obsessive desire to find the truth. Or for other people, it's going to bring an obsessive desire to get somebody to understand your point of view. It's going to be very serious, very focused. If you are able to use the energy to solve your own mysteries, to analyze your own emotions, to go deep within your psyche and figure out what is really the obstacle, usually it is us, then it's going to be a really productive influence. But for other people, it's going to be an energy of being really compulsive, obsessive, that sort of thing. But opportunities for profound realizations, and the ways in which we realize that we are our own worst enemies are the realizations that really help us make the most progress. Because when we're obsessed with what other people are doing, we're just busy thinking about what other people are doing. But when we're willing to take a look inwards, that's when the real breakthroughs happen. And then on Saturday, Venus joins Uranus, bringing a desire, especially because the moon moves into Libra that day. On Saturday, Venus conjunct Uranus is going to bring an energy of, like how I was saying about how sometimes we think there's something wrong with us, or we feel like failures because we're just not in a situation that is conducive to our success. That also happens in relationships. We may feel like a failure in relationships when we are with people who are just not compatible, because maybe we just don't communicate the same. Maybe we have different energy levels. Maybe we have different perspectives. Like, we can't possibly expect that we're going to get along with everybody, but sometimes we waste a lot of time working really, really hard to make unhealthy or incompatible connections work. What could happen for you at the end of the week is the realization that something is just not worth your time. You could realize that you've been looking for love in all the wrong places. And it could also stimulate your desire to find new connections. So Saturday is going to be great for socializing. If you wanted to have a party, if you wanted to ask somebody out on a date, if you wanted to do something different, if you want to engage socially in a way that is going to be super dynamic and invigorating, Saturday is definitely the day. It is an energy of new connections, new relationships, new opportunities to shine, and new opportunities to see who you are through the eyes of other people. So it won't be, you're not going to want to go back to the same old. You're not going to want to just like be in your jammies and watch Netflix or anything like that. It's going to be like, let's go do something different. Let's go do something really, really adventurous, right? And on the same day, the sun joins Jupiter, which is a very lucky influence. It's like saying, I feel lucky, or I feel different, or I am different. So Saturday is a beautiful day to connect with new people, see a new side of yourself, or have a new opportunity to shine in a way that you either don't usually get to, or maybe you've never gotten to before. So really awesome, really hopeful, really positive influences this week. My biggest piece of advice is do something different. especially if you feel old and tired, especially if you feel really bored, especially if you feel like your life or your relationships or anything has gotten really stagnant. This is the week to shake it up. This is the week to try something different, because you're going to be more confident than you have been. Especially for people who struggle with confidence, this is going to be a boost to your confidence. If you are already somebody who is quite self-assured and confident, please do keep in mind that these influences could make you unreasonably confident. Like taking on huge commitments because you're overestimating your time and your energy and your abilities. Taking on some sort of huge purchase or anything like that. Like, beware if you tend to already be confident or hopeful. This could push you over the edge into almost, what is the manic? That's the word I'm looking for. Like over the top excited. So of course it's going to affect everybody differently, but definitely just kind of be mindful of your energy levels. But if you're willing to be humble, if you're willing to take a chance and stuff like that, it's going to be really, really exciting. So I'm going to get into the horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. These are written for rising signs and sun signs based on first house astrology. And so what that means is that for every zodiac sign I announce, starting with Aries, it is Aries sun and Aries rising. So Aries sun and Aries rising, welcome to your horoscope. The conjunctions, I'm like tripping over my words. Very exciting energy this week. The conjunctions of the Sun, Uranus, Jupiter, and Venus all together in Taurus is an opportunity for you to reestablish a healthy baseline. And there's going to be really, really big shifts in your 3D reality. So it was starting to come through last week with the new moon in Taurus, because your second house is being activated. Your second house is what you can like touch and feel. It is your relationship with manifestations, and it is your relationship with values. And if you struggle to manifest things, you may also struggle to feel valued. So there is a big connection between belief systems and that which you are able to manifest. But this week with these conjunctions of huge change, luck, abundance, and prosperity, all activating your second house, you may also find parallels between this week's events and something that either came up or got started around April 20th, because it is the same part of your chart. Now, as much as we can, often we as adults have to go through a lot of deferred gratification. So as much as we can, we make sacrifices in the here and now, and we're always thinking about, maybe that vacation that's a few months down the road, or that purchase that's a few years down the road, or whatever, right? But if there's nothing to fill the space, then it feels like that goal that we're going for is always out of reach. And so your horoscope this week is all about keeping it simple, bringing it back to here and now, because the second house that's being activated by all this stuff right now, it is promising changes, but it is also asking of you that you recognize the changes that are happening right here, right now, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem. So if we, like I was saying, if we have to wait and wait and wait for that promise down the road, we feel really frustrated in the here and now. It's important to have little tiny rewards, little tiny treats. With my kids every Friday, we'll go get a Slurpee or something like that and just be like, yay, we made it through the week, right? As adults, sometimes we like to have a drink at the end of the day, or a little puff, something like that, right? It is important to, of course, apply temperance and moderation to any of these rewards that we seek or that we give ourselves, but in moderation. These are beautiful, beautiful ways to keep ourselves motivated. It works for little kids. It also works for adults too. We do like a treat at the end of the day, because adulting is not fun. Excuse me. But so yeah, there's a balance of keep your eyes on the prize as far as those long-term goals, but in order to help you feel as though you are making real progress, it is important to kind of bring your sights back to here and now and recognize all the things that are shifting for you right now. So intention is everything. We cannot half-ass do something and then be like, oh, why didn't that work out? Or why didn't people respond well to it? You know, if we half-ass dinner, it's just not going to taste the same as putting all of our love into it. So only you know what this is going to refer to, you know, but basically what I want to say is intention is everything. And in order to get the best results down the road, we have to make sure that we are being meticulous and careful with those little details right here and right now. It's important to have that grand vision, but the details also matter. So finding that happy medium and, you know, give yourself those simple pleasures. If you find that you are so burnt out in the moment and you're feeling really frustrated, it's going to be very hard for you to make it to that finish line. You have to have little treats and little treasures right here, right now that, you know, motivate you to keep going, help you feel good about all the things that you're waiting for, and really reward yourself for all the hard work. Reward yourself for all of the unpleasant adulting that you have to do. So take things slowly, delight in the simple things, be careful, do things, you know, slowly and intentionally with great love, and one step at a time. You're going to get to that finish line, but make sure to give yourself little rewards along the way. So lots of big shifts, lots of big changes. The things that you are working towards, they are coming through. You just need a couple of rest stops because it's a long journey. You know what I mean? Take really good care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Taurus sun, and Taurus rising. There's so much planetary action in your sign right now. There was a new moon in your sign last week. There's the sun, Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter all having a little party in your sign this week. It's like new you. Because this is all happening in your first house, whether you are a Taurus or a Taurus rising, the effect that it's having is largely kind of focused on either some form of your outer appearance or some aspect of how you express yourself. And so this energy of you having come through a really big evolution is now you're glowing, you're showing. There's something that is different about your exterior appearance. And you might even choose to commemorate what you've been going through by getting like a tattoo or a piercing or a new haircut or a new outfit or something like that. So if you feel inclined to do that, that is why you're feeling that pull. Now, it's really important for you to keep being proud, keep celebrating all the little wins, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant they may feel. Keep following what feels good and keep setting up little kind of rest stops on the way to your final goals, because there is kind of this heavy focus on duty and responsibility. And with duty and responsibility, sometimes that feels pretty heavy. So it's important to balance it all out with celebration and rest and things like that. So the square between Mercury and Pluto this week is challenging your first house and your 10th house. And as a second house individual, Taurus rules the second house, there is a huge connection for you guys on what it is you manifest and then your connected belief systems. So for example, when we are able to dress in nice clothes, when we are surrounded by nice things, we feel luxurious. And sometimes that gives us a boost of confidence. Your sign in particular is most prone to retail therapy because there's this really strong connection for your zodiac sign around comfort and physical items. So what might be brought up for you is whether or not your comfort level is adequately satisfied or distracted by the items and things that you have in your life. And you may be thinking about whether or not your current evolution of self is aligned with the ways in which you adorn your life. You might be thinking about being maybe more frugal with your money. Maybe you're realizing that you spend too much money on things and stuff, or maybe you spend too much money on like drinking or things like that. So as you kind of have this, like, I want to say almost like sobering up period, you're taking a bit of a serious look, you're wanting to be more responsible, but you're also embarking on a whole new chapter for your life. So lots of deep thoughts, lots of ways in which you're kind of contemplating the greater meaning of things. But do remember that it's the line from Staying Alive, and it's understand the New York Times don't make a man. No, it's sorry, now I can't even think of a lyric. Anyway, it's not about how you dress. It's not about the accessories that you have. It's not, you know what I mean? And true measures of success is how you feel on the inside. And that's what you're slowly coming into right now. And you may find yourself wanting to purge. Maybe you want to have a yard sale. Maybe you want to kind of get rid of some clothes that you don't wear. Or maybe you're thinking about how the clothes or the ways in which you used to accessorize, maybe you're thinking about how that no longer suits you because it reflects a different version of you. And now that you've changed, it's almost like you can't wear those things because that's not you anymore. So yeah, big connection between who you are, how you've evolved, and the physical environment around you. Definitely just remember, it's not the clothes that make a person. It is the spirit and the light that shines within. So happy birthday. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you next time. Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising, the planetary party happening this week, bringing optimism, bringing new opportunities, all of these breakthroughs that are coming, they're activating your 12th house. And what's really interesting is that Mercury in your 12th house, representing your thought process, is creating a square to Pluto in your 9th house. And there's a huge focus for you guys on seeking the truth. And maybe part of you seeking the truth is wanting to air some sort of secret, or maybe you are trying to solve a mystery, because this planetary party in your 12th house is all about that which is hidden. Now, sometimes it is hidden aspects of ourselves, and sometimes it is a genuine mystery that needs to be solved. So whichever one it is for you, what's coming through is that your persistent approach towards seeking the truth will eventually work out. Eventually, you're going to make your breakthrough. What you may experience along the way is obstacles that trigger deep emotions. And when those deep emotions are triggered, you may also experience a resurgence of limiting belief systems. So for example, if you're trying to solve a mystery, if you're trying to advocate on your behalf or something like that, and you're frustrated, you may have emotional reactions and triggers that bring up things like, nobody will ever believe me, I'm working against unstoppable forces, I'm the little guy, this is never going to work out. Any of those defeatist kind of inner thoughts, if they come up for you this week, hold them, examine them, and question them. Because when we automatically believe those beliefs, we cement them and we anchor them. But if we question them and go, God, why would I think that? You may have tons of empirical evidence as to why you would think that. But whether or not you want to allow that to dictate your reality and dictate your future, that's a whole nother story. So definitely persist towards solving the mystery. If any dark thoughts or limiting beliefs come up, like I said, hold them and question them. And you're also going to be thinking about whether or not other people's perspectives, whether or not it is truth or reality or just a subjective opinion. And so as you kind of look for facts, as you try and solve this mystery, and again, it could be an internal feeling mystery or it could be something external, you are going to have to constantly ask, is this a fact or is this an opinion? And if you can keep the two separate, it will help you find the answers that you're looking for. So don't give up. You're going to get where you need to. It may feel as though you are like Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill, but eventually you will get to where you need to go. So believe in yourself. And again, question the difference between fact or opinion. That'll be the key. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising. There's a planetary party activating your 11th house right now, and the 11th house is associated with the sign of Aquarius. What could be triggered or brought up within you right now is opportunities to act in a humanitarian way. Maybe you are thinking about the suffering in the world and how you could personally help to alleviate it. Or you might have creativity and imagination stimulated, because the 11th house in Aquarius also rules art, music, transcendental experiences, and also technology. It's a wide variety of topics. But this planetary party in your 11th house, the main theme of the 11th house is the wider world, greater connections, and how, when, and where, and why we either seek or offer meaningfulness. What is meaningful to you? Meaningful to you is going to be different for every single person. But this planetary party involving Sun, Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, it is offering you an opportunity to either have a new role in your community. It could be permanent. It could be just spontaneous, random acts of kindness, or maybe stepping into some charitable role. It could also be a shift in your path towards just making more meaningful connections. But basically, the whole idea here is that you're wanting to more closely align with people who believe what you believe or have the same selfless ideals. It's about wanting to do things for the sake of being a good human and not necessarily being bullied into it by dogma, for example. Like, you can be a good person without being afraid that you're going to hell or anything like that. And I feel like this is kind of a tangent, but if it resonates with you, you're going to know what I mean. Shared energy and shared beliefs are really important. If we try and offer our love in a situation in which we're just not on the same page as people, we're going to feel as though we're doing something wrong. We might even get to the point where we feel unlovable. But when we get with other people who have the same ideals, who have the same heart, who have the same creativity, then all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? You feel like you belong. You feel like you're doing something meaningful. You feel like time is an illusion and space is a playground. Like, when we're not in the right place, we feel like life is meaningless, right? And hopeless. And maybe we end up in a place of despair. So as you shift where and when you exchange energy with the people around you, you tap into new opportunities to feel like, yes, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm divinely guided. This is where I'm going to divinely channel my gifts, my love, my energy. So if you ever felt unappreciated and you've been considering withdrawing your efforts and energy, don't necessarily just quit, redirect. Find somewhere where you're going to be appreciated. Find somewhere where people have the same ideas or ideals. Find somewhere in which your energy feels safe and calm. Find somewhere in which you feel supercharged instead of drained. If you don't have it right here, find another place. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be literal relocation. It's just about shifting your attention. So yeah, there's something really awesome and really new and hopeful coming in, and it's a sense of being able to transform challenges into hope. It's a sense of being able to transform a crappy situation into an opportunity to help. So the ways in which we give are the ways in which we somehow magically find ourselves nourished in return. But again, if you're not feeling nourished, then you're just not in the right situation. It's not that there's anything wrong with you or what you have to offer. It's just that you're like a fish out of water. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Leo Sun and Leo Rising. There is a planetary party in your 10th house, and the 10th house is associated with Saturn and Capricorn. So this planetary party, also in an earth sign in Taurus, is really bringing your attention to that which is tangible. You want proof, you want certainty. And when it comes to the roadmap of your life, you may have almost an obsession around wanting to know how something's going to turn out. And I go through those too. You'd think as a tarot reader I'd like know all the things. No. There are many times in my own life that I've pulled cards and I've been like, what's going to happen? And my guides are like, you're just going to have to wait and see. And it's that sense of like total mystery that can really drive us crazy. But don't obsess if the answers aren't coming. If you find yourself obsessing because you do want certainty, you want answers, you want to know how things are going to turn out, just a friend to a friend, I'm here to tell you you're going to drive yourself crazy. Try not to do that so much. Learning to be comfortable with uncertainty. That's what I was trying to say. Learning to be comfortable with uncertainty is a really awesome trait to develop. And it only comes with time. And depending on our life experiences, dealing with uncertainty can actually be very triggering. So if it's not easy for you, don't be hard on yourself. But that's the message for Leos and Leo risings this week, is that if you find yourself to be a little bit obsessed about your future, this is an opportunity to learn patience and make peace with wait and see. A big part of it that's coming through, because it's your 10th house activated by all these planets, square Pluto in the 7th. And so what it is that you want the future to be different. You want the little changes that you're making right now to lead to huge changes in the future. But if you are just at the beginning of making these changes, if you haven't fully adjusted your life, if you haven't fully evolved as a being, if you literally just started making these changes, then there's no way to guarantee that the outcome in the future is going to reflect those changes. You just can't. It's like planting a seed and going, okay, how many oranges am I going to get from the tree? I don't know yet, because the seed hasn't even planted or hasn't even sprouted. You know what I mean? So if you find that you're kind of getting a couple hundred steps ahead of yourself, my message to you guys this week is just make peace with not knowing. Wait and see, wait and see. The answers will become clear. There isn't any major thing for you to solve right now. There isn't any major mystery for you to figure out. The biggest challenge is for you to implement the little changes consistently enough that then you can get an idea of what the future is going to look like. But this is only just the beginning. The seeds haven't even really sprouted yet, so don't get too far ahead of yourself. The hardest part is implementing these changes on a day-to-day basis, but the more that you can be patient, the more that you can just be present and be here now and enjoy the moment for what it is, that's where you're going to find the blessings that you're expecting. So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising. There is a planetary party in your 9th house, but the 9th house represents infinite possibilities. And for the Sun to join Jupiter, who rules the 9th house, in your 9th house this week, infinite possibilities. This could be mind expanding possibilities, that you are expanding your awareness. Maybe you're going back to school, maybe you're learning something or perfecting something you already sort of knew about. There is a large focus on the cerebral aspect of expansion with the 9th house, because it does represent higher learning, philosophy, understanding, belief systems, even spirituality sometimes. But the 9th house also does rule themes of travel and adventure, and like literally expanding your possibilities like in a third dimensional reality. So it is often by expanding our belief systems and allowing ourselves to imagine possibilities that finally trickles down into our physical reality in which the possibilities manifest. But we cannot manifest new possibilities without first imagining them or believing that it's possible. Does that make sense? So this planetary party in your 9th house is going to bring you an opportunity to realize, holy smokes, you've changed. There's something big that has taken a really long time to kind of evolve and take shape and take form. But especially with the number 9 being activated, it's almost like chosen isolation or a period of introspection has offered you the opportunity without distraction to figure something out, make some sort of either growth or internal breakthrough or something like that. And it is through that isolation, it is this growth that's been happening that is now finally getting to a point where you're like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I do feel different. I reacted differently to that situation, or I'm thinking differently about my future, or I'm interacting with people differently, or you know what I mean? So it's going to be little small things, but the awesome thing is that this week you're going to be like, oh yeah. You are also going to notice this week the ways in which you get obsessed or stuck on a daily basis, because the moon is, or Mercury is going to form a square to Pluto, just kind of bringing your attention to when and where your headspace is still part of the problem. And you may find that, like, for example, if you have an internal dialogue, like you think in words and stuff in your head, apparently not everybody does, but I do. So this is what I understand. Sometimes it's not until we listen to ourselves think for a while that we realize there's a whole lot of mess happening up here. When I teach people psychic development, that's my first assignment every time. Listen to yourself think for a week. And what you're going to hear is you're going to realize that the storyteller talks a lot. And if you have emotions come up, you might start telling a story about why you feel that way. And minutes or hours might pass and you realize, or you might realize, that you're spinning or obsessing on something. So notice where and when your thoughts are of a critical nature. That person, or blah, 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 blah. Notice where and when your thoughts are a creative nature. Oh, I wonder, wouldn't it be cool, right? And think about where and when your thoughts are of a destructive nature. Listen to yourself think for a week, and a lot of things are going to become clear. You are going to realize how much progress you've made, and it's important to validate that progress and celebrate that progress, please, because you're also going to realize how much work you still have to do. So it's really important to validate and celebrate the progress that you've already made, because otherwise you're going to be like, don't get too down on yourself. You know, as a Virgo or a Virgo rising, it is your superpower to notice details, and sometimes noticing details can lead to being hypercritical, mostly of yourself, but also of other people. So critical or hypercriticality is going to be something that comes up for you this week. If you realize it, own it, and then work on it. But please do also celebrate how much progress you've made, because seriously, like, whoa, high fives, okay? And yeah, sometimes chosen isolation really does the trick, doesn't it? I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Libra Sun and Libra Rising, welcome to your horoscope. There is a planetary party in your 8th house of karma, repeating patterns, life, death, rebirth, and intensity, passion, lust, energetic connections. It's a packed house. Because of the planetary party happening in your 8th house, there is an energy of really bringing these karmic patterns to light. And you may find yourself in a situation, either roughly right now, last week, this week, the week to come. You may find yourself in situations where you go, wait a minute. Am I stuck in a repeating pattern? Is this situation a reflection of old karma or new karma? Have I solved this problem? Am I getting sucked into a loop again? You're going to have some pretty deep thoughts about some pretty big themes in your life, but the idea is being conscious and aware of any repeating patterns, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it is that moment of recognition that you go, oh, that leads to change. But if you go, la, 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 it's fine, then no change ever happens, right? So don't be afraid to see any patterns, because every opportunity is an opportunity to change our karma. So even if we find ourselves in some sort of a repeating pattern, if we see it and realize it, then we can respond differently. We can make different choices. We can change the trajectory. We can choose to be involved. We can choose to walk away. So please remember that you always have a choice, because the 8th house does remind us that we have power. Power and control does not have to be used coercively, although often it happens between humans. Power and control is best used when we are wise and accountable and responsible for ourselves. And if we find that we're in a situation that's starting to make us spin, instead of being like, oh, this is making me spin, be like, well, I don't want to spin. Right? I had to decide in my life that if people If interactions with people make me feel drained, make me feel crazy, make me feel exhausted, I have a right to stop interacting. And it took me a really long time to get there. But anyway, empowerment is key. And the other thing I want to talk about is fertile ground. Obsessive thoughts do not grow if the fertile ground does not exist. Self-destructive tendencies do not take hold or take root if the fertile ground does not exist. So whatever it is that's growing inside of you or inside of your life, take a look at whatever kind of conditions are making that possible. So we're using a metaphor of gardening, and we're using a metaphor of like, to have something grow, it needs to be able to take root. Destructive tendencies only take root because the ground in which they grow is self-deprecating beliefs, a negative self-perspective, trauma, all these things, right? So self-destructive behaviors don't take root when somebody's healthy, when somebody's at peace. You see what I mean? So think about what sort of fertile ground exists in your mind and in your life, and look at what's growing, and then think about whether or not you need to pull any weeds, right? And last little message, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Sometimes when we're having fun, fear comes out. For those of us who have been through a lot of crap in our lives, it's the peaceful periods when everything gets quiet that we start to panic, because quiet is scary. It's like a parent being like, I don't hear my kid. It is way too quiet. Sometimes quiet, depending on your experience, sometimes quiet can represent danger. So if you're feeling triggered on some sort of instinctual or primal level, definitely tap into why. What is this reminding me about the past? What is this making me think as far as repeating patterns? And do I have the ability to empower myself to disengage right now, or to think about why these particular things are flourishing in my mind or in my life? So lots of metaphors for you guys. Thank you for being here. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you next time. Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising. There's a planetary party in your 6th house, and the 6th house is ruled by Virgo. It's all about details, details, details. Details matter. And because this planetary party invokes themes of new beginnings, like new you, new possibilities, new future, new options, new connections, like new everything, what you have the opportunity to see is that you are not the same person that you used to be. Your old life is in the rear view mirror, and you can't drive, metaphorically, we can't drive if we're looking behind us all the time, right? In order for you to really get some solid momentum going, you got to just stop looking in the rear view mirror, full steam ahead. And that means loving yourself in a new way, believing in yourself a new way, seeing yourself as a new person or a new version of you, and looking at your possibilities and the options ahead of you in a new light, because the old you would have seen things differently, but the new you has new eyes, right? Lots of metaphors for you guys, but the idea is new habits, new healthy routines, and sometimes it's really hard to lock into a new life on any level if we're still surrounded by the old life, or if we're still surrounded by people who reinforce old behaviors. Like, if we want to quit drinking, but we keep hanging out with people who drink all the time, we're going to keep drinking, right? If we want to quit smoking, but our partner, our roommate, our bestie smokes like a lot, then it's going to be really, really hard for us to quit smoking because it's part of the connection, or it's in our immediate environment, right? So the message for you guys this week is not only to take your eyes off the rear view mirror and have your eyes on the road, but also it might help to change your environment or have some sort of accountability partner. Like, often we will have a really good head start on new healthy routines and habits because we go to a gym, or we go to a nutritionalist, or you know what I mean? And sometimes that outside force, that outside influence helps us get our shit together or establish new habits or kind of get that foundation started. And then once we have that foundation started, we're good. But it's very hard to establish that new foundation if everything around us reinforces the old life or the old habits or the old world, right? So think about who is in your circle. Think about who is potentially, I don't want to say holding you back, but reinforcing bad habits. And how can you potentially mindfully reach towards new connections or shift something in your environment that helps reinforce new you, new habits, new daily routines, and new ways of being, right? This week is going to be a beautiful opportunity for you to feel supercharged, empowered, stoked on the future, and feeling really, really positive. And so if you've been hesitating making a healthy choice because you haven't been in the right mood yet, you know, sometimes we'll be like, well, I can't quit drinking yet, or I can't quit smoking yet because life keeps making me want to drink, right? There's this really, really lovely lady who passed away. Her name was Nightbird, a singer and a poet. And she said, you can't wait to be happy. I have it written down on my board. You can't wait until life isn't hard before you decide to be happy. She ended up dying of cancer. She's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. Holy crap. And yeah, you can't wait until life isn't hard before you decide to be happy. You can't wait until life isn't stressful anymore before you quit smoking or quit drinking. Life is always going to be stressful, right? But what you can do is change your environment. You can change your connections. You can limit interactions with people or situations that trigger you. So empower yourself. Now is the time. This is the perfect opportunity for you to make these changes and feel good about it. So I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising, welcome to your horoscope. There is a planetary party in your 5th house, and the 5th house is all about having fun. It's about our inner child. It's about play. It's about joy. It's about pleasure. It's about seeking pleasure, sharing pleasure, giving pleasure. It's a really, really fun time and a fun part of your chart to be activated. And for this planetary party involving the sun, which is the core of your experience, Jupiter, which is freedom and opportunities, Uranus, which is change and evolution, and Venus, which is love and comfort, for all this to be happening in your 5th house, some of you may be in a new relationship. Some of you may be either thinking about or welcoming a new child. Some of you may be reconnecting with your children, or some of you may be rekindling a romance. There is an essence of trying again or starting fresh to be healthier in the realm of love and pleasure. So sometimes we seek immediate gratification, but in the end we make our lives hard. Like if we drink or smoke, immediate gratification, health risks down the road, right? So you are in the process of reframing your relationship with joy and pleasure in a way that is healthier and more sustainable when it comes to future and your life moving forwards, right? So for some of you, it's going to be a joyful dance into a new situation. And for some of you, there may be the realization that you have to make some changes and shifts before you can joyfully dance into a new situation. But either way, opportunities are opening up for you. It could be feeling scary. It could be feeling like a combination of like scary and exciting. When we start a new romance, it feels like that. When we are about to have a kid, it feels like that. So on any level, whatever it is you're going through, there's new opportunities to shine. And the key is definitely have some fun. You have an opportunity to reignite the flame in your heart. And it's awesome when other people inspire a flame awakening in our heart. And sometimes that's with love. Sometimes that's with noticing a butterfly that all of a sudden started flying through your house. Our flame can be rekindled in a variety of different situations. But it's really important to recognize where is the fuel that keeps that fire going. Right? Don't depend on other people to fuel your fire, because in the end you will be like an addict looking for a fix. I need that joy, I need that pleasure, right? Whereas if you are self-sufficient in your ability to feel joyful or peaceful or in pleasure, then you will have a flame that will never be extinguished, right? What's really awesome, excuse me, is when we find other people that are equally healthy, and then two flames turn into a bonfire. You know, you can light 1,000,000 candles with one candle and the flame will never be taken away. It's still there. So we have the ability to share, and we have the ability to ignite other people's flames. But we do, like I said, just be mindful what the fuel is. The fuel should be your own bliss and the self-perpetuating pleasure that it gives you, right? Just remember that joy does not depend on other people. Joy does not depend on situations, and it definitely doesn't depend on substances. So you might be reframing your perspective of joy, but one way or another, it should be a very, very enjoyable week. So thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Have a great week. And Aquarius sun and Aquarius rising. Welcome to your horoscopes. There's a planetary party in your 4th house, and there is such an intense theme of change and transformation that you may be experiencing it as a literal change, like your home. Maybe you're moving house, maybe you're renovating, maybe, you know what I mean? There's some sort of link between like a new home. The other application of the 4th house energy is your heart home. So you could be going through some emotional upheaval, but in the end result is going to be a new emotional stability. So if you're literally moving house, the energy around that situation is that you're going to be going somewhere that is more safe, more stable, more nourishing, more comfortable. And if you are going through any kind of turbulence in your heart, in your emotions, in your family, with partners, anything like that, make sure to just kind of keep your focus on being emotionally stable and healthy, feeling safe. And so if what exists right here, right now, does not feel stable, does not feel nourishing, does not feel safe, then that is what needs to go. Or if you can't get rid of it, you need to go. And what's opening up the possibilities, the potential, the beautiful, beautiful opportunity for you guys this week is to really lock into that which feels nourishing and safe and comfortable. So whether it's a metaphor or a reality for you, you're rebuilding with intention. And whatever new connections you make, whatever old connections you heal, it is an opportunity for you to really set a foundation that's going to stick with you for years and years to come. And it is, for some of you, it could be the kind of thing where you've just had one too many fights and you're like, that's it, I can't do it. This is not stable enough for me. This is not healthy enough for me, right? So there's a lot of different ways it could come through. The most important aspect that's going to help you walk your highest path is to fine tune your inner compass. We all have different perspectives of what is tolerable, safe, or comfortable, right? And if you have in any way normalized that which is not truly safe or truly comfortable or truly healthy, that could possibly be shown to you this week. And like I said, everybody's got a different spectrum, and it's all about the lives that we've lived. You know, I know somebody that had the most insanely turbulent home life, and even though she had a crazy life with her partner, she was like, well, at least it's better than the whole house I grew up in. And I'm like, yeah, definitely, but but it's still not okay, right? So that's kind of what I mean, just to throw a side story in there. The highlight for you is going to be boundaries. The highlight for you is going to be peace, and with comfort and safety and trust being your ultimate goal, let your heart be your guide. Let your compass be your guide. You are not too sensitive. You're not asking too much, and you have a right to how you feel. Okay? Have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. And Pisces, Pisces sun and Pisces rising. Welcome to your horoscope. There is a planetary party in your third house, which is like after a few months of being pretty quiet and in a place of solitude, like the social activity for you right now is whoa, off the charts. And whether you're choosing or not choosing to accept any invitations, the fact of the matter is there's more calls, there's more emails, there's more contact, there's more opportunities around you. But the biggest thing is that all the time that you've spent by yourself has changed your vibe. And you will find throughout your life that there will be people that are anchored at one vibe, and if you change, it's no longer a match. Whereas other people in your life, you're going to change and they're going to change too. You know what I mean? And you find that you can continue to match vibes even though you're continually evolving in your own individual and unique ways. So as this social activity ticks up a notch, you may find that with some people you're stoked to re-engage. Maybe you can catch up. Maybe you're like, awesome, I've been growing, you've been growing, high fives, right? And then other people you might try and connect, and you might have these moments of being like, wow, we are so different, and this just doesn't feel comfortable anymore, right? So that's okay, right? You may find that you're either attracting and connecting with new friends. Third house also rules self-employment. Like, so for some of you, it could be starting a new business or finding a new level of success with your business, that there's new connections, new abundance, new opportunities, new income. The key word here is new. And you may find that certain connections, certain opportunities are just old and tired, they're exhausting, and your heart isn't in it anymore. And it's really important that whatever we do with feeling. Well, vacuuming the house, maybe not so much. I don't need to feel it, right? But if I'm going to write something, I should do it with feeling. If I'm going to do something that represents my business, I should do it with feeling and intention. If I'm going to connect with friends, I shouldn't be doing it half-assed. I should be doing it with feeling and intention. And so across the board, if you are not feeling it, maybe it's not meant for you. And forcing yourself to either do something or follow through with something when you just know deep inside that it's just not for you anymore, those might be things that come up for you this week. So as you pursue nourishing connections and connections of safety and trust, you're going to find that your anxiety disappears. Your depression lifts. Time almost ceases to exist. Those are the nourishing connections you need to have. And the connections that are just not in your highest good, they're going to trigger anxiety. They're going to trigger depression. They're going to feel like never-ending moments where the clock starts moving backwards. And you're like, oh my God, when can I leave, right? So pay attention to your relationship with time. Pay attention to your own personal energy level. Pay attention to whether or not you feel light or heavy. And follow what feels good with honor and dignity and respect. Stay true to you, and you will be the happiest. Working to make other people happy all the time is going to make you miserable. So stay true to you. I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.